Okay guys, there's a really strange thing about this video. At the end I want you to comment and figure out what it is. But anyway, meanwhile, we're going to talk about Mainland retics. This is a pure-blooded, 100% Mainland retic. Somebody stole my props here. This is a monster Mainland, okay? This snake has the ability at this age, which is, this snake is 5 years old and has the ability at this age to be, I don't know, probably somewhere in the 18, 19 foot range if we'd have fed it a lot, maybe even 20 if we pushed it really, really hard. So, here's the deal. Half the people would say, oh, you underfed it, that poor snake. Well, poor underfed snakes don't lay eggs. Other people would say, oh, that's cool. I could keep my retic small. You can. Now, here's how I believe it works. We've done this multiple times. If you're keeping track of the videos, you'll have already known this. So here's our technique. It's real simple. Feed your snake like it lives in the wild. When it lives in the wild, it doesn't get a meal every day. It doesn't get a meal every week. You know, when I first started herpetology, everybody said you never feed a python more than twice a month. Any more than that was abuse. And you know what? I don't buy into that at all either. If a snake is crawling in the wilderness and he finds himself a good area to hunt, he's going to eat, and eat. Nobody's going to tell him not to eat. Nobody's going to keep him from eating. And all he's going to do is eat. And he's going to be a big python. Now, on the other hand, a lot of the dwarf stuff comes from islands. Well, after years and years and years living on islands, and they adapt. It's evolution. Now, I don't believe we came from nothing, but I do believe in the theory of evolution as far as it goes that when you're in a, you know, with a good design, and anybody that designs something well is going to be able to adapt to the situation. So when you're on an island, limited food, bad summers, bad winter, you live on a small amount of food, you learn to reproduce with a small amount of food. Now, I'm not telling you that if you take a dwarf, if you take a pure dwarf, you're going to ever get a 22-foot snake or a 25-foot snake out of a dwarf. Maybe multiple generations of heavily feeding, I don't know how many. But I am telling you that if you take a dwarf and you feed it really a low amount of food, it's going to lay at a much smaller size. So here's a perfect case study, which we did over and over and over. This is a pure Mainland. Probably have a sibling back there that weighs somewhere in the 160-pound range. And we just decided we're going to let it grow at its own speed, feed it less. And as you can see, it doesn't interfere with reproductive. Beautiful clutch of eggs, all healthy. It won't lay as many as its big giant sister that's probably already laid for 3 years. But look at that. Every egg is fertile. Every egg is fertile. And she's still wondering, whoa, ho, slow down. Every egg is fertile. So here's my theory. So how it works is simple. When they're young, they're going to want to use most of the food that you feed them because they have to be 3 years old to breed. So, here, relax, girl. So they have to be 3 years old to breed. So if you give them a ton of food in the first 3 years, what are they going to use it for? If they're too young to breed, they're going to use it for growth. But on the flip side of that, you feed them conservatively for the first 3 years, and they're going to use it for maintaining themselves. So then when they get old enough to breed, and then you start feeding them, now if you get all the right cycles and you catch them ready, then they use all that energy. Guess what they use it for? For reproducing. So this snake here, we could keep it this size pretty simply. What we would do is we'd feed it a low amount of food, keep it nice and healthy, don't let it get skinny, don't let it get huge, don't feed it like crazy, and then when it comes time for breeding season, when she wants to use her energy, she's going to want to focus her energy on reproduction. So that's exactly what we did with the snake. And this is her first clutch. We have a couple that, and the funny part is, if you feed that snake real heavy now, it will still get very large. And unlike a super dwarf or you know, a dwarf, they're going to have a limited size. People always ask me, well, how big is it going to get? It's really up to you. We got an email today that said, well, how big will a super dwarf breed at? Well, if you take your time and you take 4 years to grow it up, it's going to breed smaller than if you feed it like crazy. And feed it like a Mainland, it's going to try to be a Mainland. It won't ever be a Mainland. But you know what? A Mainland can get 25, 26 feet. So if all of a sudden a super dwarf gets 12, why are you so shocked? It's still a super dwarf. That's a tiny snake compared to the other one. This is a nice size clutch. So there it is, a nice beautiful clutch. And this is my tips to keeping your snakes small if you want them small. Even though I like big snakes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 perfect egg, guys. Peace out. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Give us more questions.